first thing I want to do is make the 10 spreaders. Dimensions for the spreaders are on the plan, but they can vary depending on the thickness of the plywood that you're using. Now, I'm using 1/2 inch plywood, which doesn't always net 1/2 inch, so you'll need to adjust the width of the spreaders based on the thickness of your plywood. So I know the exact width of the top, and what I want to do is on the sides, I want to have them spread apart the proper distance. The top comes flush to the edge, and if I'm going to air, I want to air so that the top is just slightly past, because that can be routed off, flush cut, or sanded. If you're in slightly, then the whole side to get it flush would have to be sanded. So being that the top is a fixed dimension, it's the spacing of from the outside to outside that we're concerned about. So what I want to do is take double the thickness of the plywood and minus that from the overall length of the spreaders. So 15/16 is the dimension I want to take off of the overall width. All of my dimensioning is done using net 1/2 inch, and that's I did that as a safety margin because depending on where your plywood comes from or what type, at least you'll know you need to do this math. And it's really the only math you need to do. It's the only customization to these dimensions. I have to make 10 sides. Now when I did the original ripping from the plywood that I had, I was able to get the 4 sides plus 2 additional sides that will be used to cut up the spreaders. That'll leave me 2 spreaders short. So some of the fall off from making the sawhorses, I'll be making 2 more pieces that are this width and the right length. And I want them all identical, so I'm going to set up the chop saw. I have plenty of scrap. This is the cutoff from the when I routed out the sawhorses. Now I would prefer that I run the grain long ways, the same as the others, but and I have some scrap to do that. But a little Yankee thrift. I know these are laminated and the laminates alternate, so I'm going to go ahead and make 2 of them with the grain running crossways, just to use as much material as possible. So what I'm going to do is take one of the spreaders, and just like with the sawhorses, I'm going to take one of them and hand cut it, and then I'm going to use that as a template to make the other spreaders, and then I'll use it also to lay out and make one of the sides, which then can be used to make the other 3 sides. So the first thing I do is lay out the center point for the guide bit for the hole saw. Okay, I've got the holes cut out. Now I just need to connect the dots here. Spreaders and the end caps are identical. One of the things I did in designing the bench was to simplify things, make as many of the parts uniform as possible. Now I'm going to lay out one of the sides and cut it with the router, and then once that's done, I will use that as a template to do the other 3 sides. Okay, so I have a side made, and I'm going to use that as a template. When you make a template, you lose the amount between the edge of your cutter and the edge of the template guide. In my case, it's 1/16 of an inch. So when I use this as a template and I run around the inside, this secondary piece, the one that I've cut with the template, is a 1/16 on each side, which means I'm going to lose an 1/8 in width. If I wanted to, if it were very an operation that size was very much needed, then I would have made the template 1/8 of an inch wider and 1/8 of an inch longer, and then I would have used that strictly as a template. It would not have become one of the end caps or spreaders. I went ahead and used it for for another guide or spreader. That being said, I'm going to double down on that loss with these because I used that template to make these 4, and now I'm going to use this one to make the other 3, so they're going to be further reduced. Again, I just wanted to point that out. The plans, if you have the plans, they just show you the dimensions and how to build it and what all the parts look like, and they tell you the exact dimensions. So I would assume that a lot of people are going to go ahead and make a single template a little bit larger if they're doing it this way, and use this to make all of the spreaders and end caps, and use it to make all of the sides, and then just set it aside as a template for the future. Okay, I have with the sides all ripped and cut and routed, and the end caps and the spreaders all cut and routed. One more element here is to round over these inside edges on the inside and out with a little 1/8 inch bit just to smooth them over. I won't be doing the outsides because they'll remain square, and when the top goes on, I'll be rounding the edges of the top off. Okay, so far all 4 sides are identical. Top, bottom, left, right, it doesn't really matter. Time to move on to detailing out the tops.